Hey y'all, welcome. I'm Whitney, 39, and this here is my new podcast titled Besties We're Not From Here. This is essentially going to be a hodgepodge mishmash of like spirituality, healing, the metaphysical, and just everything in between, I suppose. Today's episode is primarily just going to be my awakening story, to kind of give y'all an idea of like who I am and what you can expect on this channel. Also too, I always try to recommend everybody use your discernment with everything. Like if I don't vibe with you, you don't have to watch. Like you don't have to take the things that I can that I tell you. This is just a lot of experience that I've had that I have condensed incredibly so in the last 3 years. And I found out that I have a really great skill with taking very complex things and finessing them down to manageable pieces for a lot of other people. So that's what we're gonna do today. I was born in 85 to my mother and her boyfriend. Boyfriend left. My mom found a new boyfriend. They wound up getting married. He adopted me, and I currently live with them along with my beautiful baby boy, my baby bird, my bubbly, my heart and soul. He'll be turning 10 this year, and it's not ideal, but I'm a firm believer in your new life is going to cost your old one, and a lot of things had to fall away for me to even dream of the type of life that I wanted. So I was brought up in a family where outward appearances were that was it. That was the thing, you know? It was a very hands-off family. You did not express emotions. You did not voice opinions. You just kind of played your role. You went to your respective area and then you just hung out. So I grew up as a tomboy, for lack of a better term, because I didn't brush my hair. I barely showered. I was basically just like a feral kid growing up, like hardcore. That's what I was. To give you an idea of how much I just didn't know, I didn't know what a period was. When I first got mine, it was on the 4th of July, and I was terrified I did something wrong. I genuinely thought that either I had did something wrong or that I was going to get in trouble for this. So I just hid it for like 3 months until my mom finally realized that I had started, and she just goes, "You good?" I was like, "Yes." And that was our conversation. So I was always the weird kid. I tried to fit in, and it seemed like nothing I ever did allowed me to fit in. I always felt like an alien. I'm not even gonna lie with you. I felt like I was observing humanity more than I was actually living with it, and I was just trying to fit in any way that I knew how. Which is such an odd feeling because I desperately wanted to be part of life growing up, but I never felt like I was. I was always trying to justify who I was. I was always trying to basically make it seem like I was someone I wasn't. And I was really relying on validation from my parents, from others, from anyone who would give me any sort of comfort or, again, just validation, because I didn't know what I was doing in any of it. I had no idea. And I was brought up to believe that you just sort of winged it. I didn't know you could ask questions. I didn't really understand these types of things. So that was how I moved through life. I jumped from one relationship to another. I never actually really had a long relationship. We started out in one state, we moved to another, I moved back, we moved to this one, we moved to that one. We were always moving in some form, and I actually really enjoy that, because nowhere that I've been has felt like home as of right now. So I want to say 2013, 2014 is when I met the love of my life, of course. And in, I think it was 2013 that we met. I'm awful at dates, don't judge me. And 2014, we figured out we were pregnant. I had my beautiful son in 2015, and a year after that, we moved into his parents' home, they had a studio cottage on the back of their property. And that's where I created my family. Now I need you to know, before I met my husband, I was an aspiring go-go dancer. I was in a really cutthroat industry. I had finally gotten my foot in. I was so excited. And the first kind of pushback that I ever really felt from my ex-husband was when I got my big break, my debut moment, and he told me that he had dated a couple of rave sluts, and he didn't feel comfortable with me dancing. So I knew what I wanted. I'm one of those people, if I want it, I'm going to go after it. And I knew I wanted him. I knew I was going to marry this guy. So I dropped my dreams and I got married. We had a kid. We moved into his parents' home. And then I had my awakening in 2020 during the pandemic, like many other people. And it started with my husband coming up to me and saying, I can't do this anymore. I want to be a woman. We moved here in June of 2022, and I was a shell of who I was. Looking back at pictures now, I saw how much weight I'd put on. I saw how unhappy that person was. And it was until the universe does what it does and brings you exactly what you need. And it was in the form of a couple Instagram posts from one woman who was talking about narcissistic relationships, that I realized that I had been married to a narcissist. I'm not going to go into detail because honestly, this story isn't about them. This is just to let you know the things that I'd gone through and who I was before I became who is sitting in front of you right now. Just a lot of gaslighting, emotional manipulation, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. But this was the catalyst that led me into have the realization that not a lot of people are having, and a lot of people are scared to face. I sat down and I said, okay, you know what? The common denominator in this whole entire equation is me. Every relationship that I've had, every failed relationship that I've had, every time this keeps happening, the pattern is always me. So what inside of me says that these things are okay? What inside of me is saying that these instances are okay, that I need to accept this kind of stuff? And so in 2022, I started my spiritual journey, but it was disguised as a healing journey. And that's so funny because I went to go say healing journey and spirit says, no, it was a spiritual journey. So I first started looking into CPTSD. If you don't know what CPTSD is, PTSD is just one instance of trauma happening. CPTSD is called complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and it is multiple occurrences where your body gets stuck in loops because it's constantly happening where you're not safe. So I started reading books. I really started diving into my healing because I wanted to realize, what are the things that I'm doing? What are the things that I'm allowing? Why do I allow these things? I mean, of course, I've been to therapy before, but I never fully stopped to think about me. I'd always been pointing the finger at others. And this was the first time that I stopped and I said, no, it's up to me to heal this. I can't keep walking around with my trauma, unloading it on other people, expecting them to actually do the work for me when it's up to me to heal me. So I figured out I was in the fawn response, which inevitably led to me realizing that I was in the freeze response and flight. I don't think I had flight. I was in fight a little bit as well. So I had 3 of the trauma responses, but those came in layers as I was healing things. If you notice, when you're healing things, healing isn't linear. And I always like to refer to it as an onion. You're going to find it. You're going to heal the thing. And then there's going to come a time when you're going to go right back to the same thing, and you're going to get so upset because you're going to go, oh my God, I already dealt with this. Like, why are we still repeating the cycle? It's because there's a new layer for you to uncover. You're not going to be finished with your healing until you've gotten to the bottom, to the core of that onion. You're always going to be pulling off layers until you're done. And truthfully, some things have taken me 3 years, 3 layers, oh my gosh, 3 years to do. And it's just, it is what it is. And I didn't start out healing for the spiritual. I notice a lot of people start out going into the spiritual and then sort of turning to healing. But I had dabbled in the spiritual a little bit, like tarot every now and again, kind of. Spirits told me I'm not going to be a tarot reader, and that's fine with me because I suck at cards. But I've done like little, like itty bitty spells before. And so I didn't really consider the spiritual side of anything, not at all. So I get on TikTok around this time in the beginning of my healing journey, and I start getting tarot readers out of nowhere. And I'm like, ugh. Again, spirit never does anything not on purpose. Let's be real. And I start having some crazy experiences. I start learning how to talk to guides. You know how when you're playing video games and you want to build your character and they give you sort of skill points? You can put skill points into stealth, into, fighting, into strength, into agility, all those kind of things. I put all my spiritual points into clairaudience when I first started. So when I first started, I could hear spirit as well as I could hear anybody in the 3D, truthfully, because I put all my skill points there. So I started doing that. My very first time actually channeling for someone was a dear friend of mine, and her landlord was looking to kick her out, and she hadn't paid rent. She was so terrified he was gonna just boot her. So she's like, sweetie, can you channel my guides for me? And I'm like, never done that before. That sounds really scary. Don't want to do it. She's like, sweetie, I'm desperate here. So I literally see this guy, and he's leaned back, and he's got his feet up, and he's got his hands behind his head. It's like, sup? I'm like, she wants to know what to tell her landlord. And they're like, just tell her don't worry about the landlord. We have it handled. I can't tell somebody that. Are you joking? Are you joking right now? I can't tell somebody that. And I asked every single way. They would not tell me anything differently. Absolutely refused. So I went up to her and I'm like, look, I don't recommend this advice, but this is what they're telling me. And she goes, if that's what they said, then I'm going to believe them. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get this girl kicked out. Like, so fast forward a couple of weeks, and she tells me she's selling her stuff and she's getting ready, packing a bag. And I'm like, girl, you can't even pay your rent. What are you doing? She's like, sweetie, you were right. My landlord messaged me and he told me he was going to pay me to move out. She's like, I have plenty to leave and I'm going to Europe. I'm like, you're telling me that I was right? And that's one of the scariest things, because when you first start off, especially with clairaudience, you feel like you're crazy, like you're talking to yourself. That's literally what it sounds like in your brain. And so realizing that I wasn't crazy and I was actually hearing spirit was the weirdest thing possible in that moment. I also had people gatekeep kundalini experiences like nobody's business, and I understand that a lot of us have different experiences in regards to kundalini, but I need y'all to start dropping the tea with it, okay? Because I had another experience where all of a sudden it felt like I was pregnant, okay? It was an energy inside of me just moving around my stomach, and I thought I was pregnant. This is coming from a significant dry spell, mind you, okay? There is no way I can be pregnant. So I'm terrified. I just started on the spiritual journey. I'm deep in healing. I don't know what's happening. I got a little sage stick, okay? This was the one, an incense stick. I'm running it around and I'm just going, demons be gone. I compel you out of my field. I went to bed just sobbing in tears. I was so terrified. Had to do research to find out it was a kundalini. And I had activated one of the serpents. That was the most joyous experience, though. I can tell you that right now. Again, it's something else I can go into detail if you would like to know what it is. But to tell you it was magical is just an understatement. It was so much fun. That actually elevated me into meeting my mentor. And I went into debt. I'm going to tell you straight up. I went into debt to better myself because I'd never invested in me before. I just spent money to spend money. And I was like, if I'm just going to spend the money, why don't I actually invest in my health, my well-being? And that's what I did. And I breezed through her mentorship program. Absolutely breezed through it. And one thing I keep noticing about me is I take to healing and spirituality like a fish out of water, like ain't even close. Like that's not even the right metaphor. Let's be real. Nothing has ever made sense to me as much as spirituality and healing do. Something just clicked, absolutely clicked. And I can't tell you what it is. It's just that it's like my soul recognized it and just went, we want that. And I'm going to breeze through it. People always kind of telling me, you have your foot on the gas. Your foot doesn't need to be always on the gas. There is a brake. And I always tell them, I'm like, my brake's broken. I lost it. I don't know how. But that's how I kind of did things. And then fast forward into, we're going to say summer of 2020. Oh my gosh, was it 2023 or was it 2024? I think it was 2024. Again, I'm horrible with dates. I can't even remember half this stuff. My mentor blocked me. I have learned if you do not get out of rooms that you are not needed in, spirit is going to find a way to eject you, okay? And that's exactly what happened, okay? I had a bit of depression after that. It's triggered my dark night, truthfully. A couple more friends, a really close friend, blocked me about a month or so after that as well. And what's that saying that they always say, that rejection is redirection? It's exactly what it was. And I've learned in the spiritual community especially, blocking is just what is done. And it's not a definition of who you are. It doesn't define you. It's nothing to take personal. It is just what is needed sometimes. And people will do it left and right. And you can't really be upset with people for protecting what they consider their peace. So my dark night took from either June or July, I can't entirely remember, till I want to say December. And I was just laying there existing sometimes. Sometimes I was just staring off into a void, wondering what to do. I hate the dark night. It was not a lot of fun, okay? January started up. I have discovered a new way to do chakra work. Really intense chakra healings. I got the pleasure of doing it for one woman who was in some of the meetups that I used to go to here in my area. And we uncovered that she had been in a car accident that she had no recollection of because it hadn't happened yet. And as I was telling her things, I think she was more blown away than even I was, because things started clicking and making sense for her, because I saw her in the back of a car and it was all metal. There was nothing but metal to this car. and I was in the back behind the passenger seat. And I'm never going to forget this. She looked at me and she goes, "Is that why I'm scared all of a sudden to sit in the back seat of a car?" I was like, "Yeah, sweetie, because you died." So Spirit had told me, go ahead, start offering up your chakra services, because the stars were aligning for it. Let's be real. So I did. I had 2 clients. Mind you, backtracking a little bit, I lost my job in December. But Spirit really wanted to tell me, you manifested this. You need to know. So just keep on the path. So I tried to instantly jump back into jobs. We started the chakra work. I had 2 clients. That's it. Both went exceptionally well. But no one else signed up. And in February, I had to come to the conclusion, and I finally got that Spirit was telling me, they're like, "Sweetie, this isn't it. Why do you think you're not getting any more clients? This wasn't it." And I was so frustrated. So I'm like, I'm trying. I was in my ego. I was trying to control the situation. I was trying to look for a way forward when one hadn't been made for me yet. Like, I understand that now. So in February, I start doing some really deep healing as far as my parents go. Starting to really uncover a lot of trauma around them, trying to figure out what I want to do. And Spirit kept telling me, rest and receive. And that was it. I've spent from February until last night trying to figure out how to receive. Because you have to understand, when you are stuck as a woman in your masculine, okay? Because you have to remember, I've been on my own my whole entire life. Even my relationship with my ex-husband, I was the only one working. They were taking care of the kiddo at the time, okay? I was always the one driving us forward. So when you are used to no one showing up for you, it's hard to let go of the reins. Truthfully, it really, really is. So I went ahead, and last night especially, I've been working through a couple ego deaths, because if I'm going to do everything, might as well just do it all at once, right? And so I finally realized I've been spending 3 years trying to manifest the life of my dreams. And the reason why I haven't, because look, mind you, okay, I'm living with my family. I don't want to be here. I don't have a job right now, okay? I don't really have a lot of friends to talk to be around in this area, okay? I have a couple online. That's the extent of it, okay? I'm a firm believer, again, in your new life is going to cost you your old one. So I was just sitting there with Spirit going, I don't have anything to give you anymore. And then Spirit just literally at the top of my head, they just go, yourself. That's what I have left. So I realized that my manifestations were not coming in. This literally just last night, because I didn't feel safe or supported in my current environment. I can't bring in what I want when I don't feel safe enough for those things. So yeah, kind of crazy. So one of the things my old mentor told me was that I enjoyed healing, but not being healed. And that's really bugged the crap out of me. I'm not even gonna lie with y'all. But it was truthful. And I can tell you, after 3 years, sitting where I am now, I'm healed. Does this mean that I don't have anything else to uncover? No. Does this mean that it's not going to be more integration, things to heal in the future, things along those natures? No. It just means that I've done a lot more work than most people. And in doing these things, I've learned, again, that I can take really complex things and break them down for the masses, in essence. And again, what that means is I've learned so much going through so much pain in 3 years that I have a lot to share. And I also have fun bits to share. Like, truthfully, this is even the tip of the iceberg. I gave y'all like the PG version of spirituality in this episode because I don't want to scare y'all off right away. Let's be real. But I've had so many spiritual experiences. I can talk about the floaty place. I can talk about some of the different planets I've seen, some of the characters I've interacted with. I can tell you the bits of magic that have happened in my own life and how I know magic is real. It might not look like what you expect it to, but magic is definitely real. But today I just wanted to give y'all an overview because truth be told, I was told once that the reason why I've never fit in here is because I'm not meant to. I'm meant for what comes after. I'm not meant for here. So, welcome, because besties, we're not from here.